Okay, so this video is going to cover the basics on how to set up a simple VR tour with using the environment package, and we're going to create a platform that kind of cruises around. So you're going to start with a new project, so don't have anything open when you open it up. We're going to keep this on the disk, create a new project here. Keep it, for you guys, you'll put it on your desktop. I think I'm going to switch it to my current year here. I got a lot of things. There we go. Okay, so this project we're going to call environment, and basically environment tour. All right, because we're going to create an environment and kind of do some tour around. All right. You guys might have the ability to add asset packages, but what I'm going to do is I will post this environment package for you, and I'll show you how to install it in this video here. Alright, so go ahead and create the game. Okay, so I have my new game all ready to go here. What I'm going to do is go to File and Save Scene As. Whenever you create a new game project, you want to save your scene, double check that it's in the correct assets folder, which it should be, and then I'm going to call this one just tour. Alright, so this isn't going to be too crazy of a video. It's not going to be too bad. Most of your time is going to be spent kind of manipulating the environment. So let's go ahead and bring that in. You're going to go to Assets on the top and Import Package. And we are going to, you might see this here, import environment, but I'm going to go ahead and give you a package to import. I'm not sure if you actually see the environment package on yours or not, so I want to make sure. So import custom package, and I'm going to give this to you on Google Classroom to download, but I have to go get it here. There it is. Click open. So what it does is it decompresses, and you have all these things that come with the environment package. And you're going to go ahead and just leave everything the way it is. Everything is going to be selected. If it's not, you're going to click all, but everything is selected on mine, so I'm just going to go ahead and choose import. What it's importing that we want is a lot of textures that we're going to use for the environment, like grass and ground and things like that. So it's definitely needed. Okay, so now you notice you have some standard assets. We used to just have one thing, which was our scene, but we have editor and standard assets that they're going to come with this. So if you expand that and go to environment, you'll see that there's lots of cool things, especially these things for the terrain. Okay, so now that you have those imported, I'm going to go ahead and save the project. That's good. Alright. Okay, so back to the basic here. Here we go. So let's go ahead and add a terrain. Under Game Object, you're going to have a 3D object here and choose Terrain. Now, some of you have messed with this in class. Some of you have not. A terrain is basically a big flat plane, but it has some special tools that go with it. Okay, so first thing we want to do is make this so that it's not going to slow our computers down once we start building on this. But the default terrain is really, really big. Okay, so we want to change that, the size of it. So over here in the terrain, I'm going to go all the way over that looks like a big flower at the end. That's just a gear for settings. And to change the size of your terrain, it's the resolution. So the width and the height is set to 500, and these are meters, so this is huge. So we want to kind of make it smaller, and I'm going to say no bigger for you guys than 20 by 20. Okay, you can still do a lot of details in here. 20 by 20 is fine. And the height, I'm going to say a max 100. Okay, So now see how small that is compared to what it was before. We're still going to be able to look at it and it should be fine, but we're going to be able to add stuff and have it not slow our computer down so much. Okay, not able to see pretty much what's going on with my camera yet. I'll move that in a minute. But it starts off with just pretty much a blank slate. So the first thing you want to do with your terrain, we are going to add texture to the main piece of ground here. Okay, so in order to do that, on the right hand side we were in the settings. I'm going to go ahead and choose the tool that has the paintbrush. Alright, this is where you paint your main texture. So it doesn't matter what brush quite yet. I'm going to choose Edit Texture to add one. And when you're adding a texture, you're going to click on these 2D textures, and this is where importing the environment package comes in. So when I click Select, I have a lot of textures now here that come with the environment package for Unity. Alright, so what I'm going to choose is, what you can choose, these are grass, these are okay. Grass rock albedo, grass hill, but I'm going to choose this mud rock albedo specular and the one with the normals. Alright, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I have the mud rock here, and I'm just going to choose, I'll close that and choose add. Alright, so when I add that, you see it adds the mud rock to the texture. That looks okay, but let me remove that one and add another one. So I'm going to use it this time, except I'm going to also add the normals that come with it. Alright, so the first thing is the albedo, that's the texture file, and then you have normals that come with it. So then I'll double click on the normals, make sure that's selected, and select the normal texture that comes with it right there. And you can kind of see in the preview here, this is going to add a lot of depth to the texture. Alright, you see how much cooler that looks? It actually looks like our flat piece of land here started to get some real, I guess, real texture to it. It has, you know, peaks and valleys and shadows, so it looks kind of cool, but it's still flat. So that normal texture really adds a lot to this. Okay, it looks kind of big. These details look really too big for the way I want my piece of land to look. So that's where you can mess with the brush size and opacity, kind of bring it down a little bit. Actually, oops, it's not the brush size for this necessarily, it's the texture size. So go back and edit your texture, and there are some settings here with size that we should probably mess with. So it'll tile this, and it's tiling it with some really big tiles. So I'm going to bring this down to maybe 5. And what that means is basically you have, you can see on the grid here, you're going to have 5 by 5 in the X direction. So it'll make 5 pieces this way and 5 pieces that way. Now that might even be too big. You can bring it down to maybe 3. You want it to be somewhat uniform, but it doesn't have to be. If you like the other look, you can go with that. Okay, so kind of looks a little bit more like a big flat desert, rocky, muddy type of thing. So that's what we want. This is our base layer for the environment. Okay, the next piece is I'm going to start messing with these tools to raise and lower the ground to make some mountains. So the first one right here is raise and lower terrain, and you have some these brushes that you can mess with. So the harder the brush, the more terrain you're going to get. So I kind of want this soft one, but I want the brush size to be a lot bigger. So you can see how it highlights the part that's going to be risen, and all you're going to do is press your, you see how I'm pressing my left mouse button? It's kind of popping that up. Every time I click, it's kind of hard to see it, but it is raising it up. So not doing too much with that brush size. Let me undo that and raise the brush size up a lot more. Alright, you see how it's kind of raising it up a little bit more? That looks okay. maybe it's this brush that would be better. There we go. I'm starting to get a little bit bigger difference. So you can just click and hold, or click and hold and kind of brush with your mouse where you want your terrain to be. Alright, and what I want you guys to do is kind of create an outline of something that you're going to work with. Let me create a bigger, harder brush. There we go. And really want to have something where you're going to have a lake in the middle, like the example that I had in class. Alright, so I'm kind of going to go around and let me mess with this a little bit more. Alright, so I'm just clicking and dragging, messing with raising the terrain, and maybe it's the opacity. I had that down to 0. There we go. Oh yeah, that was it. So let me go back to this brush and raise the opacity. So there we go. You got more of a, so the combination between the brush size and the opacity is going to allow you to pull up the terrain. Now if you pull it up on the edge, you see how it pulls the side of it up? You don't necessarily want that. Alright, because we want the user to kind of come flying in like this is an island. Alright, so kind of work at this for a little bit and make it like an island.